Sword Art Online is an anime where the main character called Kirito dives into the world of Aincrad using a headset called the Full Dive Nervegear. And in this virtual world, he quickly realizes that a game over in VR means a game over in real life as well. But how close are we to actually creating SAO in real life? Especially knowing that Sword Art Online takes place in 2022. So let's break it right down. To be able to create SAO, we need exactly two things, which is both the VR game itself as the actual Nervegear headset. So let's start talking about the headset first. To be able to get in Sword Art Online, the users needed a full dive Nervegear. But this is not just any ordinary headset, because the Nervegear is capable of both reading and sending signals directly to your brain. By doing this, it is possible to stimulate the user's senses almost perfectly. That means it makes it near impossible to distinguish real life from the virtual one. Another important thing is that while the user is diving into SAO, the headset blocks the signals that are going to the rest of the body, meaning you can just lay on your bed while diving into SAO. But the crazy thing is that this technology is actually in the making. An example is Valve, who is working on this right now in their project headset that is codenamed Galea. Over the past years, Valve has really made their statement in the VR industry with their high-end headset called the Index. But with this project Galea, they are trying to achieve a Nervegear-like headset by combining it with a BCI, which stands for a brain-computer interface. And this would unlock the headset to be able to reach your brainwaves and to then translate them into the game itself. The big boss and co-founder of Valve, called Gabe Newell, even said that their prototypes are working way faster than expected and that developer kits for early beta access will ship in early 2022. But an important thing to keep in mind is that this headset is only capable of reading the signals from your brain. That means for now it could not send signals back to stimulate your senses. But with big improvements like eye tracking, higher resolution and frame rate, better quality audio, or even the crazy haptic feedback gloves, our senses like vision, hearing, and touch should already almost be perfectly stimulated in the first place, with the only difficult but less important ones being the smell and taste. But luckily, Valve is not the only one working on creating a Sword Art Online Nervegear, because Elon Musk is creating some crazy technology with his company called Neuralink. You might have seen the amazing viral video of a monkey being able to play Pong by just using his brain. This was all thanks to Elon Musk's co-founded neurotechnology that made use of a chip that was implanted into the monkey's brain directly. But what is so special about it is that this chip, just like the Nervegear, is capable of both reading and sending signals to the brain. But there is one big downside, and that is that this is only possible if the chip is implanted under the skull. That means that users would need to have an operation to be able to use it. But for the moment, Neuralink is mostly focusing on using this in the medical field, where the implementations are almost endless. Think about people with spinal cord injuries that could walk again, or even being able to make blind people see again for the very first time. Luckily, Elon Musk also mentioned that he is working on a future where we can achieve this exact technology without needing an implant, so that it can also be used for gaming as well. And besides Elon Musk, we have seen some other companies trying to achieve a full dive headset. One of the biggest attempts of last year was a headset called the Half Dive, which was meant as a first step to this VR future, with a headset that lets you lay on your bed while giving you a full immersion experience. Although the promise and hype was very big, the Half Dive VR headset sadly got cancelled due to production issues. The company did however mention that they are not giving up on their plans to create this experience. But besides Half Dive, it also turned out that one of the biggest VR companies, called Meta, was also very interested in creating their own version of the Nervegear. Their special department, called Facebook Reality Labs, was working for years towards what they called a head-mounted thought reading device. And while the progress seemed to be very promising, it was until recently that Facebook announced to cancel their brain reading device. But they did mention the following: we still believe in the long-term potential of head-mounted optical BCI technology. On top of that, the company is making their BCI software open source and also plans to share all all their head-mounted hardware prototypes with big key researchers so that they can continue where Facebook left off. But as we can see, all these big companies are trying to create what all of us have been hoping for. But it turns out that there are a lot of hurdles to overcome to make this a reality, especially when it comes to the Nervegear's function to send signals directly to the brain. However, that doesn't mean that it isn't possible. With the working prototypes from Valve and even the recent acquirement from Snapchat, who bought up the BCI company NextMind, there is a high possibility that we can see the first full dive-like headsets being announced this year. But even more important than the Nervegear is the actual Sword Art Online game itself. To answer the question if we can create the Sword Art Online game in 2022, we first have to look at how it is made. In the anime, SAO exists of a castle that is called Aincrad. In this castle, there is a division of 100 different floors, each representing a whole new game world, with their own towns, missions, monsters and dungeons. Which means that Sword Art Online would be one of the biggest games ever created, because each of these floors have been designed from the ground up. That means they are not randomly generated, like we see in games as No Man's Sky, but instead have to be coded level per level. But with the rise of VR, we have seen many games that are actually capable of achieving exactly this. One of the easiest examples is VR chat, where users can create their own characters and game worlds in a matter of minutes. There is even a Sword Art Online VR project going on in VR chat as well, where people also try to recreate the game. But together with the rise of VR, we also recently saw a lot of new releases. Think about the big hit called Zenith The Lost City, with its anime-style open-world gameplay, being directly inspired by Sword Art Online itself. But probably the biggest reason that I believe a Sword Art Online VR game will be announced this year is thanks to an event that took place earlier this year, which was the Sword Art Online X Chronicle exhibition. During this event, people could explore certain areas of the Aincrad world, like the Town of Beginnings or floor dungeons. You could even pick a fight with one of the most badass bosses possible. But the reason why this event was so important was because it was the first official SEO event that took place in VR, being supported by Sony. And with the capability of creating VR worlds so easily, and the recent boom of JRPGs coming to virtual reality, I truly believe that there is a high chance that we will get an announcement of the first Sword Art Online VR game this year. And I honestly have never been so excited for the future of VR, because this means it won't be long anymore before we can finally dive into SAO with our own Nervegears.